Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Gonna put a bow on my 2023 Axpona coverage with what I do with every show. Have a video dedicated to the music that I heard and what songs did I hear that I think I might already have in my playlist, but maybe you haven't yet, and then ones that I added to my playlist that are very good for determining differences or just enjoyable on a state-of-the-art system and good to benchmark. Because I'll tell you, one of the advantages of going to these shows is not just seeing and hearing the gear and even the fun stuff that we talked about in the Zoom interview with my friends Dave and Doug. I hope you watched that live video and got some other perspectives on what they liked at the show. But instead of just evaluating gear, and we tend to just attribute everything in the room to the speakers, the added benefit of going to these shows is you get to hear these recordings. Some you know, some you don't know. You can add to your repertoire. That's a huge benefit. But then when you come back to your home, you can see how you benchmark. How much did you enjoy that song in that room with that gear, and then listen to it at home. And I can tell you, over my 20, 30 years now going to shows, I used to come back not really even close to some of the things I heard at CES back at the time, was what I used to go to a lot. And then I started learning how to upgrade my gear, upgrade my room, use DSP. And then I started to get parity with what I was hearing at shows. Then I started to have a much better room and gear that I was now starting to have better. And it was only isolated things that I would listen for at shows. And then now with the Bach, I gotta say, I want to give a shout out first of all to my subscriber James, who went through my videos and created a playlist of the songs that you hear in the various videos. And I'll put a link in the description here for Tidal, Qobuz, and even YouTube, depending on what format you want to listen to them. It's about 30 songs, really cool songs. Some of them I already had and they're very common, but these are all ones that you heard in my various videos. And this is the first time I've come back from a show after having the Bach in my system. And it's usually I'm happier at home, but there's always some things at a show that I may have liked and try to tweak when I get back, still doing that progression I talked about. But now with the Bach and all the advantages I've done over time, DSP, it's not even close anymore. It's like I listen to all these songs in this playlist and I far more enjoy them now here than no matter what price tag was at the show. And that's where you want to get. I mean, the advantages of a room, DSP to your ears, Bach to your ears at your listening position, there shouldn't be anything that beats it. That's just too much of an advantage to overcome, as long as you've taken the time, and it is a learning curve, how to progress. And I want to give a little value added, because this is a short video. Basically, I'm just telling you about the clips, the playlist, and I'll put that in the description. I will do music clips in my system with those songs, but I'm going to save that as a perk for my members, because I'm actually going to use it, record it with the cell phone camera and Bach engaged, so people can get the members can get an impression of that as a perk. But what I wanted to do is share with you a tip of how I went through this learning curve with songs. And I'll probably put up a screenshot if I can to kind of tip you off. If you have Bach, there's a 64-bit EQ option that gives you plenty of bands to do EQ. If you use Roon, there's a parametric EQ that can give you control. And then it's also things like Dirac or Mini DSP SHD has a parametric EQ, or you can use some other service or piece of hardware software that does EQ. All of them should work pretty good for this tip that I'm going to give you. So what I would do is listen at the shows. I'd come back and maybe my system was bright in a certain area or boomy or what had something that I didn't like as good at the show. So one thing you can do, especially with technology on your phone now, and not test tones or anything, you can actually bring out an app. And I use this one called Spectroid on my phone. And where that part in the song is, you can actually get a rudimentary gauge of what frequencies are playing when they're hitting that note. And it kind of benchmarks the high points of what's playing. So you get appreciation for when an instrument plays or a singer sings, what frequencies they are at. Most people don't have that innately. It took me a long time to kind of know, but I still use that app to give me confirmation of what frequencies is that really playing at. And what you'll find is that a lot of frequency, a lot of music is played a lot lower than you think, in the 300 to 600, 800, under 1,000 hertz. And that's why, I heard Wendell was doing kind of a gimmicky thing with the subwoofer playing everything and not really playing the panels and all that. You can get away with that if you're using drivers that are running full range, because most of the music, as you'll see with these apps, is in a range that is much lower than you innately think. But anyway, you would use that app to pick out those points where maybe you've got a peak in your room or something that's annoying. And then you can go into your parametric EQ, whether it's Bach, Roon, whatever, mini DSP, and then adjust slightly. Always do little bits first. Don't go drastic. Even half dB over a wide band is a wide range, a wide Q is actually quite audible. And I've done even a video blind testing where you can tell how much you can hear 0 dB, 0.5, 1. Pretty much everybody can at certain points tell that. So be very modest with correcting for what you hear, but start playing in those areas where you're hearing an instrument or vocals or bass that you find peaky. Now, I would not use EQ to boost things. If you find it a little subdued or you want more bass in a certain area, maybe turn up the volume in your sub. Always use EQ, digital EQ, to bring stuff down. You could probably get away with boosting a little bit, but don't do like I've seen some of these YouTubers do that review the mini DSP and put 10 dB Dirac curves in the bass. You could cause damage to your amps and your speakers. The amount of power that's required to add that boost. Be very careful. So that's a warning. Always, for basic use, initial learning, just use it to bring things down in certain areas where you hear peaks. And then you play the song back with it engaged. And usually with all these EQs, you can disengage it on the fly. And then that's how I would realize, okay, my room or my speakers and gear were peaky at a certain area or had a problem. And then I would get my performance as good as what I heard at the show in that area of the song, or even better. And then as you learn that, going through trial and error, then you get much more confidence in DSP when you're targeting certain areas, small A/B testing and only reducing. Then you start realizing, man, like I did, man, DSP works. It's not doing anything harmful. It's actually tangibly improving such that I'm hearing stuff as good or now better than what I heard at the show. And I didn't change one piece of gear or even my seating distance or my room. And then you can take it from there. And so it's, you need 10,000 hours to become an expert on anything if you listen to Malcolm Gladwell. So I can't shortcut everything for you. But if you take those baby steps after you go to these shows, use some of these clips that I'm playing here. A lot of these are kind of cool clips. They may not be to your taste. Some may not. But I have everything from classical to EDM to really cool tracks that I love, like Looking for a Home by Keith Greninger and Diane Kai. That's a great song. When I heard that in the Odyssey room, I immediately gave thumbs up because that's a song I never hear, and I like to give kudos to that. But also, as I mentioned, St. James Infirmary by Louis Armstrong is one of the tracks that I always will remember one system playing better than I've ever heard it. And this was the first time I heard a system at a show get to that level. And again, on LP, it has an advantage over the digital version. Actually, on streaming or the CD I have, there's 2 mastered versions of that digitally, and they're 2 drastically different. So neither one is quite to the level, but when I was able to come back now and play that song, and I was able to get as good or better performance that I've never had before with that song on the digital version. But now with the Bach, I get those spatial cues that the vinyl version did a lot better in the past. It's just an ear-opening experience. So definitely, if you're in the area, you're going to want to come by. I have some people already scheduled coming 17-hour drive to come listen. It's going to be well worth your effort if you want to hear the Bach engaged and not engaged with some of these songs. Get used to these songs, play them on your system, then come see me. We'll play it with the Bach, without the Bach. I think you'll be very impressed. But either way, this playlist has enough good songs, enough genre changes that you should be able to do some of the steps that I did and maybe find it helpful as I have for me over these years. So Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed. Sign up, subscribe. I got a lot more coming soon.